A young black boy, after waiting for hours without seeing his mother return from work, rushed out into the raging snowstorm to look for her. He trudged his small steps through the freezing wind, shivering while whispering his mother's words. But exhausted and frozen, he suddenly collapsed right before the gates of a mansion. Witnessing the scene, the billionaire living inside immediately rushed out, carried him in, wrapped him in blankets to warm him up, then personally went to find the boy's mother. Little did he know that this act of compassion would unveil a truth that could change his entire life forever. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from, and subscribe because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. The wind cut like broken glass. Leo's sneakers were soaked through. Each step made a wet, squelching sound that nobody could hear over the howling storm. His red puffer jacket, the one Mom got from the donation center last winter, was too thin for this kind of cold. Way too thin. He kept walking anyway. "Mom said the big house on the hill," he whispered to himself, his breath coming out in small white clouds. His teeth chattered so hard it hurt his jaw. "The one with the lights," she said. "She said the man there is nice." Leo was 6 years old. He shouldn't be out here alone. He knew that. But Mom didn't come home last night. She always came home. Always. Even when she worked the late shift at the factory, she'd be back by morning to make him toast and tell him about her night. But this morning, the apartment was empty, just cold and quiet and wrong. He'd waited as long as he could. Then he remembered what Mom told him once when she tucked him in during another snowstorm. "Baby, if you're ever scared and I'm not there, you go to the big house on Bennett Hill. The owner, Mr. Cole, he's a good man. He'll help you." So Leo went. The hill was steeper than it looked. His legs burned. His fingers had gone numb inside his wet mittens. The left one had a hole in the thumb. He tried to squeeze his hands into fists to keep them warm, but it didn't really work. Everything was white. The sky, the ground, the air itself seemed white and angry. "I'm not scared," he said out loud, but his voice cracked. "I'm not." He was terrified. The mansion appeared through the snow like something from a movie. Leo had seen it from far away before, but never this close. It was huge. Stone walls, tall windows, iron gates that looked like they belonged to a castle. Warm light glowed from inside, making the snow around it look orange and gold. It was the most beautiful thing Leo had ever seen. It was also the most intimidating. He stumbled up to the front gate, his legs shaking. From cold or fear, he couldn't tell anymore. There was a camera mounted on the stone pillar, its red light blinking. Leo stared up at it, wondering if anyone could see him. His face felt stiff. He tried to wave, but his arm was so heavy. "Please," he whispered toward the camera. "Please, I need help. My mom." A gust of wind slammed into him from the side. Leo gasped, tried to catch his balance, but his legs gave out. He hit the snow hard. It was soft, but so cold. He tried to push himself up, but his arms wouldn't work right. Everything felt far away suddenly. Fuzzy. He could see the gate starting to open, its motor humming somewhere in the storm. Someone must have seen him. Someone was coming. "Mom," he mumbled into the snow. His eyes were so heavy. I tried to find you." The world went sideways, then dark. Ryan Cole hated winter. He hated the cold, the ice, the way his schedule got disrupted by weather delays. He especially hated mornings like this when his driver called in sick and he had to get his own car out of the garage. He had a board meeting in 40 minutes, a conference call with Tokyo in an hour, and a presentation that needed final revisions before noon. He didn't have time for this. Ryan grabbed his black overcoat and his briefcase, already mentally reviewing the quarterly reports as he headed toward the garage. The house was silent, except for his footsteps. It was always silent. 3 floors, 8 bedrooms, and most days the only voice he heard was his own. He was halfway to his car when he glanced at the security monitor mounted by the door. The front gate camera showed nothing but snow. Except, wait. Ryan froze. There was something red in the snow. Just outside the gate, a splash of color that didn't belong. He dropped his briefcase. By the time he reached the gate, his expensive shoes were ruined and his pants were soaked to the knees. But he didn't care. The red thing wasn't a thing. It was a child, a little boy in a red jacket, lying face down in the snow. "Jesus Christ," Ryan breathed. He fell to his knees beside the boy. his hands, usually so steady in negotiations and presentations, shaking as he turned the small body over. The kid was black, maybe 6 or 7 years old, with snow crusted on his eyelashes. His lips had a bluish tint that made Ryan's stomach drop, but he was breathing, shallow, but breathing. "Hey," Ryan said, too loud, too sharp. He forced himself to calm down. "Hey, kiddo, can you hear me?" The boy's eyes fluttered open for just a second. They were brown and confused and scared. His lips moved, barely forming words. "Sir, my mom, she didn't come home." Then his eyes rolled back, and he went limp. Ryan didn't think. He scooped the boy up, so light, way too light, and ran toward the house. The kid's head lolled against Ryan's chest. His jacket was damp and thin, practically useless against this kind of cold. How long had he been out here? "Margaret!" Ryan shouted as he burst through the front door. His housekeeper appeared from the kitchen, her eyes going wide. "Get blankets, turn up the heat in the guest room, and call Dr. Morrison now." He didn't wait for a response. He took the stairs 2 at a time, still holding the boy against him. The kid was starting to shiver now. That was good. That meant his body was still trying to warm itself up. Ryan shouldered open the door to the nearest guest room and laid him carefully on the bed. The boy curled into himself immediately, still unconscious, his whole body trembling. Ryan pulled off the wet jacket, the soaked sneakers, the threadbare socks. Everything the kid wore was either too small or falling apart, or both. His t-shirt had a cartoon character on it that was so faded Ryan couldn't tell what it was supposed to be. Margaret rushed in with an armful of blankets. Together they wrapped the boy up, piling the covers high. Ryan grabbed a towel and gently dried the snow from the kid's hair, his face, his small hands. "Dr. Morrison is on his way," Margaret said quietly. She was staring at the boy with the same shock Ryan felt. "Who is he?" "I don't know." Ryan looked at the wet pile of clothes on the floor. "Check his pockets. Maybe there's an ID, a phone number, something." There was a small backpack Ryan hadn't noticed before, also soaked. Margaret picked it up carefully and unzipped it. She pulled out a pair of torn mittens, a plastic container that probably held lunch at some point but was empty now, a crumpled homework paper with Leo M. written in crayon at the top, and a drawing, a child's drawing done on the back of what looked like a utility bill. Ryan took the drawing. It showed 2 figures holding hands under a big yellow sun, one tall, one small, both colored in with brown crayon, smiling huge smiles. At the bottom, in shaky letters, "Me and Mommy." Something twisted in Ryan's chest. "His name is Leo," he said, his voice rough, "and he's looking for his mother." Leo woke up warm. That was the first thing he noticed. He was warm in a way he hadn't been since... He couldn't remember. The second thing he noticed was that nothing looked right. The ceiling was too high. The bed was too soft. There were curtains. Actual thick curtains, not bed sheets taped over windows. He sat up fast, his heart pounding. Where was he? "Easy there." Leo's head whipped toward the voice. A man sat in a chair beside the bed. He was tall, even sitting down, with neat dark hair and sharp eyes that looked gray in the light. He wore a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up and an expression Leo couldn't read. Not mean, but not exactly friendly either. Careful. "Who are you?" Leo's voice came out scratchy. His throat hurt. "My name is Ryan Cole. This is my house." The man leaned forward slightly. "You collapsed outside my gate. Do you remember that?" Leo's memories came back in pieces. The snow, the cold, Mom not coming home, walking, falling. "Where's my mom?" The words burst out of him. "I have to find my mom. She works at the loud place, the factory. She didn't come home and I..." "Hey, slow down." Ryan held up a hand. His voice was firm, but not angry. "What's your mother's name?" "Sophia. Sophia Mitchell." Leo clutched the blankets. They were so soft. Everything here was soft and clean and expensive looking, and he didn't belong here, but he didn't know where else to go. "She works at the factory. The Holden factory. She said you were nice. She said if I needed help." Ryan's expression changed. Something flickered across his face, surprise maybe, or recognition. "Your mother works at Holden Manufacturing?" Leo nodded, afraid to say more. "Adults got weird when you talked about the factory. Mom said not to tell people she worked there because they might look down on them. But this man, Mr. Cole, he didn't look like he was judging. He looked worried." "When did you last see her?" "Yesterday morning. She said she had to work a double shift. Leo's eyes burned. He would not cry. He wouldn't. She always comes home, always. But this morning she wasn't there, and I waited, but she didn't come, so I thought. He couldn't finish. The tears came anyway, hot and embarrassing. Ryan stood up. For a second, Leo thought he was leaving, but instead he sat down on the edge of the bed, closer. His face was serious, but not cold anymore. Leo, listen to me carefully. Holden Manufacturing is my factory. I own it. He paused, letting that sink in. And if your mother is there and something's wrong, we're going to find her. Right now. Leo stared at him. This was the boss? Mom's boss? The owner of everything? You'll help me find her. I promise. And somehow, even though Leo had never met this man before in his life, he believed him. Ryan made 2 phone calls before they left. The first was to his assistant, canceling everything for the day. The second was to the factory manager, and Leo could hear the edge in his voice, even though he didn't understand all the words. Something about immediate staff check and I need a full report. Can you walk? Ryan asked, turning back to Leo. Leo nodded and slid off the bed. His legs felt wobbly, but they worked. Margaret, the nice lady who'd brought him soup earlier, had found him clean clothes. They were too big, probably meant for someone older, but they were warm and dry. Leo had never worn anything so soft. Good, let's go find your mom. The car was bigger than Leo's entire bedroom. Black leather seats, screens everywhere, and it was already warm when they got in. Ryan drove fast, but not scary fast, his jaw tight, his eyes fixed on the road. Leo sat in the back, watching the snow-covered streets blur past. Mr. Cole? Leo's voice sounded small in the quiet car. You can call me Ryan. Ryan, is my mom in trouble? Because she didn't come home? Is she gonna lose her job? Ryan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. No, your mom is not in trouble. But I need to understand what's happening at that factory. Leo didn't understand what that meant, but the way Ryan said it made him feel a tiny bit safer. The factory appeared after 20 minutes of driving. It was huge and gray and ugly, with smokestacks and metal walls and trucks parked everywhere. Even from outside, Leo could hear the noise, banging and whirring, and the sound of machines that never stopped. Mom said the noise gave her headaches, but she never complained. She said they needed the money. Ryan parked in his reserved spot near the main entrance. He got out and came around to open Leo's door, then hesitated. Stay close to me, he said. Don't let go of my hand. Leo grabbed his hand. Ryan's palm was warm and steady. Together they walked through the front doors. The noise hit Leo like a wall. Everything was loud and smelled like metal and oil. Workers in stained uniforms moved between machines, most of them not even looking up. A few glanced over and did double takes when they saw Ryan. Their faces went carefully blank, the way Mom's face did sometimes when the landlord came by. A man in a tie hurried over, his face red and sweaty. Mr. Cole, sir, we weren't expecting I need to speak with Sophia Mitchell. She's on the production line. Ryan's voice was calm, but had an edge to it. Where is she? The manager's eyes flicked to Leo, then back to Ryan. Mitchell, let me check the schedule. Now, please. The manager pulled out a tablet, his fingers fumbling across the screen. She clocked out about 2 hours ago. End of her shift. Leo's stomach dropped. But she didn't come home. The manager looked uncomfortable. Sir, I'm sure there's an explanation. Check if anyone's seen her. Check the break rooms, the parking lot, anywhere she might be. Ryan's voice grew sharper. This child walked through a blizzard looking for his mother because she didn't come home, so I suggest you find her quickly. The manager's face went pale. He grabbed his radio. All supervisors, this is Henderson. I need eyes on Sophia Mitchell. Production line 3. Anyone seen her in the last 2 hours? Static. Then a voice crackled back. Yeah, she's still here. Medical room. She wasn't feeling well after her shift. Ryan's jaw clenched. Take us there. They followed the manager through the factory floor. Leo's hand stayed tight in Ryan's as they weaved between machines and workers. The medical room was at the back, a small space with a cot, a desk, and a first aid kit on the wall. Mom was sitting on the cot, her head in her hands. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, her uniform wrinkled and stained with sweat. When she heard the door open, she looked up. Her eyes went wide. Leo? Baby, what are you? Then she saw Ryan behind him. Mr. Cole. She tried to stand, swaying slightly. Ryan moved forward quickly, his hand going to her elbow to steady her. "Mrs. Mitchell, sit down, please." "Sir, I'm fine. I just needed a minute after my shift." "Mommy!" Leo pulled free from Ryan and ran to her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "You didn't come home. I was so scared." Mom's face crumpled. She pulled Leo close, her whole body shaking. "Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She looked over his head at Ryan, tears streaming down her face. "I was going to call for a cab. I just felt dizzy, and the nurse said I should rest for a few minutes before driving." "You drove here?" Ryan's voice was tight. "The bus doesn't run early enough for my shift. I have to drive." She swayed again, and Ryan pulled over the room's only chair, positioning it behind her. "Sit. Now." It wasn't a request. Mom sank into the chair, still holding Leo. Ryan turned to the manager. "How long was her shift?" The manager checked his tablet. "Standard 8 hours, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. "And the shift before that?" The manager's face went red. She worked a double yesterday, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., then came back for the night shift." Ryan's expression went cold. "So she worked 8 hours, had a 4-hour break, then worked another 8 hours? We were short-staffed. We asked for volunteers." "Did you pay her overtime?" "Of course, sir. Everything by the book." "By the book?" Ryan's voice was dangerously quiet. "The book says people need rest. The book says you don't work someone for 16 hours out of 24. He turned to Mom. "How often does this happen?" Mom looked down at Leo, clearly not wanting to answer in front of him, but Ryan waited, patient and immovable. "A few times a month," she finally said, "when they're behind on orders. They ask who can stay, and if you say no too many times—" She trailed off. "If you say no, what happens? You're not a team player. And when they need to cut hours or let people go, team players are remembered." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I have a son to feed, Mr. Cole. I can't afford to not be a team player." Ryan stood very still for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Dr. Morrison, Ryan Cole, I need you to come to Holden Manufacturing right now. I have an employee who's worked 16 hours in the last 24 and is showing signs of exhaustion." He paused, listening. "Yes, I'll wait." He hung up and looked at the manager. "Dr. Morrison will be here in 15 minutes. Until then, Mrs. Mitchell stays here and rests. Get her water and something to eat." "Sir, I'm really okay." Mom started. "With respect, Sophia, you're not." Ryan crouched down to her eye level. "You're pale. You're swaying. And your son had to walk through a blizzard to find help because you couldn't make it home. That's not okay." Mom's face crumpled again. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Stop apologizing. This isn't your fault." Ryan stood and turned to the manager. "I want a full report on overtime practices in this facility, every instance in the last 6 months, on my desk by tomorrow morning." "Mr. Cole, I assure you we're following all regulations." "Then the regulations aren't good enough." Ryan's voice cut through the room. "If my employees are too exhausted to drive home safely, something is wrong, and I'm going to fix it." Dr. Morrison arrived 20 minutes later, a kind-faced man with gray hair and a calm demeanor. He examined Mom while Ryan took Leo into the hallway to give them privacy. "Is Mommy gonna be okay?" Leo asked, his voice small. Ryan knelt down to his level. "Yes, she's just very tired. Dr. Morrison is going to make sure she's healthy, and then we're going to take her home so she can rest. She works too hard." "I know." Ryan's voice was gentle. "And that's going to change. I promise you." "How?" "I'm going to make sure the people who work for me have time to rest, time to be with their families, time to be human beings, not just workers." Ryan met Leo's eyes. "Your mom shouldn't have to choose between taking care of you and keeping her job. Mom says that's just how things are." "Well, I'm going to change how things are." Dr. Morrison emerged from the medical room. "She's dehydrated and exhausted, but otherwise healthy. I've given her some fluids and vitamins. She needs rest. At least 2 full days, no work. She'll have it." Ryan stood. "Thank you for coming so quickly." "Of course." Dr. Morrison glanced at Leo, then back to Ryan. "This is the boy who walked through the snow? This is Leo." Dr. Morrison held out his hand, and Leo shook it solemnly. "You're very brave, young man, and you did exactly the right thing by asking for help." I remembered what Mom said about Mr. Cole being nice. She was right. Dr. Morrison smiled. Take care of your mother, okay? Make sure she rests. I will. They went back into the medical room. Mom was standing now, moving slowly but more steady. She'd changed into clean clothes someone had brought her, a simple sweater and jeans from her locker. She looked embarrassed and grateful and exhausted all at once. Ready to go home? Ryan asked. I can take a cab. I'm driving you. No arguments. The ride to Mom's apartment was quiet. Leo sat in the back with Mom, holding her hand the whole way. She kept whispering apologies to him, and he kept telling her it was okay, that he wasn't mad. Ryan drove carefully, checking on them in the rear-view mirror every few minutes. When they pulled up to the apartment building, Ryan helped Mom out of the car. She was steady on her feet, but moved like everything hurt. Thank you, she said, for everything. For finding Leo, for coming to the factory, for... Sophia. Ryan's voice was gentle. You don't need to thank me. Just rest. Take care of yourself. I need to call the factory. Let them know I can't come in tonight. Already done. You're on medical leave for the next 3 days paid. Doctor's orders. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Mr. Cole, I don't know how to repay you. You don't have to repay me. You have to rest. He glanced at Leo. And you have to let this brave kid take care of you for a change. Leo straightened up, taking his job seriously. I'll make sure she rests. Good man. Ryan smiled, then looked back at Mom. I'll check in tomorrow. If you need anything, groceries, medicine, anything, you call me. Understood? Mom nodded, not trusting her voice. They watched Ryan drive away, his expensive car looking out of place on their shabby street. Then Mom and Leo went inside, and Mom immediately collapsed on the couch. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered. You must have been so scared. I was, but Ryan helped us. Leo climbed onto the couch beside her. Mom, is he really going to make things better at the factory? I don't know, sweetie. I hope so. I think he will. He promised. And somehow, even though they barely knew Ryan Cole, they both believed him. Ryan didn't sleep that night. He sat in his home office, laptop open, going through reports he should have read months ago. Personnel files, overtime records, incident reports. The numbers painted a picture he didn't like. Holden Manufacturing had always been his pride, one of his first acquisitions, turned profitable within 2 years. But looking at the data now, he saw the cost of that profitability. Average overtime hours had doubled in the last 18 months. Employee turnover was up 30%. There had been 3 worker injuries in the past quarter alone, all during extended shifts. He'd been so focused on expansion, on opening new facilities and landing new contracts, that he'd stopped paying attention to how his existing operations were running. He'd hired managers to handle the details, trusted them to do their jobs, and never questioned why productivity kept increasing while labor costs stayed flat. Now he knew they were squeezing more work out of fewer people. His phone rang at 2 a.m. He answered without checking the caller ID. Cole. Sir, it's Marcus Reeves, his head of operations. I got your message about the report. I'm working on it now, but I wanted to give you a heads up. The overtime situation at Holden isn't unique. Ryan's stomach dropped. Explain. All 3 of our manufacturing facilities have similar patterns. High overtime, especially in the last year. It's how we've been meeting increased demand without hiring additional staff. Why wasn't I informed? You approved the strategy, sir. Last year's board meeting, you said to maximize efficiency and keep overhead low until we knew demand would sustain. Marcus paused. We were doing what you asked. Ryan closed his eyes. He remembered that meeting, remembered pushing for leaner operations, better margins. He just hadn't thought about what leaner operations meant for the actual people doing the work. Send me everything, he said. Every facility, every department. I want full transparency on working conditions, overtime practices, employee feedback, all of it. Sir, that's going to show some things that might not look good. I don't care how it looks. I need to know the truth. Ryan's voice was hard. We've been running these people into the ground, Marcus. That ends now. It's going to cost money to fix. A lot of money. Then it costs money. Ryan stood, pacing to the window. Outside, the snow had stopped, leaving everything clean and white. A 6-year-old boy nearly froze to death because his mother was too exhausted to make it home from our factory. If that doesn't tell us something's wrong, I don't know what would. Marcus was quiet for a moment. I'll have the full report by noon. Thank you. Ryan hung up and stared out at the darkness. He'd built his company on the idea of doing things right, quality products, fair prices, good business practices. But somewhere along the way, he'd lost sight of the most important stakeholders, the people who actually made the products. He made himself a promise in that moment. Things were going to change, really change, not just at Holden, but across all his operations. And if the board didn't like it, too bad. The next morning, Ryan had flowers and groceries delivered to Sophia's apartment before he went to the office. Nothing excessive, just basics like milk, bread, eggs, and some easy-to-prepare meals. The flowers were simple daisies because they seemed like something that would make her smile without being too formal. Then he went to work and called an emergency meeting of his senior leadership team. 8 executives sat around the conference table, looking nervous. They knew Ryan well enough to recognize when he was truly angry, and the tightness around his eyes told them this wasn't going to be a normal meeting. Yesterday, Ryan began without preamble. One of our factory workers nearly collapsed from exhaustion. She'd worked 16 hours in a 24-hour period. Her 6-year-old son had to walk through a blizzard to find help because she didn't make it home. He paused, letting that sink in. Anyone want to explain to me how we let that happen? Silence. No one. Fine. I'll tell you. We let it happen because we've been so focused on profit margins and efficiency that we forgot we're employing human beings, not machines. Ryan pulled up a document on the screen behind him. These are our overtime statistics for the past year. Anyone see a problem? The numbers were staggering. Some employees had logged over 100 hours of overtime in a single month. This is unsustainable and unethical, Ryan continued. I don't care if people volunteered for this overtime. When your choice is between working yourself to death or losing your job, that's not really a choice. Sir, Marcus spoke up carefully, our margins are already tight. If we limit overtime, we'll need to hire more staff. That means higher labor costs. Then our margins get tighter. Ryan's voice was flat. I'd rather have lower profits than blood on my hands. The board won't like it. The board doesn't have to like it. I'm the majority shareholder. I make the final call. Ryan leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. Effective immediately, we're implementing new policies across all operations. No one works more than 10 hours in a single day without explicit approval from me personally. No one works more than 50 hours in a week, period. That's going to slow production. Then we hire more people. Ryan cut off the objection. I want each facility manager to submit hiring plans within a week. We're going to properly staff our operations. Sir, another executive spoke up, this could cost millions. I know what it will cost. Ryan's voice was hard. But let me ask you something. What does it cost when a single mother works herself to exhaustion? When her kid has to walk through a blizzard alone? When our employees are too tired to drive home safely? He looked around the table. That's not a cost I'm willing to accept anymore. The room was silent. I built this company to be better than this, Ryan said quietly. To treat people fairly. To do the right thing. And somewhere along the way, I lost sight of that. I got comfortable. I stopped asking questions. He stood. That ends today. We're going to fix this, and we're going to do it right. Any questions? Just one, Marcus said. What about the worker, Sophia Mitchell? What happens to her? Ryan had been thinking about that all night. I want to offer her a position at corporate headquarters, something that uses her skills but doesn't require physical labor or overtime. Can HR put together some options? Of course. Good. I'll speak with her myself once she's recovered. Ryan looked around the room. Anything else? No one spoke. Then get to work. I want those reports and hiring plans on my desk by end of week. The executives filed out, whispering to each other. Ryan stayed behind, staring at the overtime statistics on the screen. He'd made his fortune being smart, being strategic, being ruthless when necessary. But he'd never wanted to be cruel. And working people to exhaustion was cruel, no matter how you justified it. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Sophia Mitchell. Thank you for the groceries and flowers. You didn't have to do that. Leo wants to know if you'd like to come for dinner sometime to thank you properly. Ryan smiled despite himself. He typed back, you don't need to thank me, just rest, but yes, I'd love to have dinner with you both. When you're feeling better. 3 dots appeared, then, you're a good man, Mr. Cole. He stared at those words for a long time. He wasn't sure if they were true, not yet, but he was going to try to become the kind of man who deserved them. 5 days later, Ryan knocked on Sophia's apartment door, holding a briefcase and a bag of takeout. "I hope you don't mind," he said when she opened the door, looking surprised. "I brought Chinese food, and I wanted to talk to you about something." "Of course, come in." She stepped aside and Ryan entered the small apartment. It looked tidier than last time. Leo's toys were neatly organized, and there were fresh flowers in a vase on the table, the daisies he'd sent. "Ryan!" Leo appeared from the bedroom, grinning. "Did you bring food?" "I did. Hungry?" "Always." They sat around the small table, unpacking containers of noodles and rice and vegetables. Sophia looked better, rested with color back in her face, but she was quiet, almost nervous. "How are you feeling?" Ryan asked. "Much better. Thank you for everything. The flowers, the groceries, the time off." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I'm supposed to go back to the factory tomorrow." "Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about." Ryan set down his chopsticks. "I have a proposition for you." Sophia's smile faded. "Mr. Cole." "Ryan, please." "Ryan, if this is about what happened, I promise it won't happen again. I'll manage my time better." "That's not it." Ryan pulled a folder from his briefcase. "I've been reviewing operations across all my facilities. The overtime situation at Holden isn't unique. It's systemic, and it's my fault for not paying attention." "You can't blame yourself." "Yes, I can. I'm the owner. The responsibility is mine." He opened the folder. "I'm making changes, new policies, new hiring, new management structure. But I need people who understand what's wrong with the current system, people who've lived it." Sophia looked confused. "I don't understand." "I want to offer you a job at headquarters as my administrative assistant." The room went silent. Leo's eyes went wide. Sophia just stared. What?" "My current assistant is transferring to our London office. I need someone organized, intelligent, and honest. Someone who won't just tell me what I want to hear." Ryan slid the folder across to her. "The pay is more than double what you're making at the factory. Full benefits, reasonable hours, and room for advancement." Sophia opened the folder with shaking hands. Her eyes scanned the offer letter, and Ryan watched her face go pale. "This is too much. I don't have office experience. You've been managing a household on a tight budget while working overtime at a factory. You're more qualified than half the people in my office." Ryan leaned forward. "Sophia, I'm not offering this as charity. I need someone good, and I think you'd be excellent at this job." "But why me? You could hire someone with a degree, with experience." "Because you understand what it's like to struggle, to work hard and still barely get by. That perspective is valuable." Ryan's voice was gentle. "And because your son walked through a blizzard to save you. That tells me you're someone who inspires incredible loyalty. That's the kind of person I want working with me." Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. You don't have to decide right now." "Can I really do this? Office work?" Sophia looked down at her hands, rough from factory work, nails cut short. I'm not polished, like the people who work in those buildings downtown." "Polish is overrated. Substance matters more." Ryan smiled. "Besides, Leo told me you're the smartest person he knows. I trust his judgment." Leo nodded seriously. "Mom's really smart. She helps me with all my homework." Sophia laughed through her tears. "Baby, you're in first grade. The homework is addition." "Still counts." Ryan watched them together, the easy affection, the way they teased each other. He felt something twist in his chest, something he couldn't quite name. Envy, maybe. Not of what they had, but of never having experienced it himself. "Can I ask you something?" Sophia said quietly, once Leo had gone back to his room to play. "Why are you really doing this? The job offer, the policy changes, all of it. Is it guilt?" Ryan considered the question carefully. "Partly, yes. I feel responsible for what happened to you, but it's more than that." He paused, trying to find the right words. "I spent my whole life building a company, chasing success, and I thought I was doing it the right way, working hard, being smart, playing by the rules. But I forgot to ask myself why I was doing it. And now I know. It's not about the money or the success or the recognition. It's about the impact you have, the difference you make in people's lives." He met her eyes. "You and Leo, you made me realize I've been living a very small life, even in a very big house. I want to do better, be better." Sophia reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "You're already better than you think you are." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Sophia pulled her hand back and looked at the offer letter again. "When would I start?" "Whenever you're ready. 2 weeks, a month, your timeline. And if I'm terrible at it, then I'll train you until you're good at it. But I don't think that will be a problem." Ryan smiled. "You managed to keep yourself and Leo afloat on an impossible budget while working a job that would break most people. I think you can handle scheduling my meetings." Sophia laughed, a real laugh this time. "Okay, yes, I'll do it." "Yes? Yes." She looked determined now, the fear replaced by something else. Hope, maybe. "I want to try. For Leo, to show him that things can get better. They will get better, I promise." Leo appeared in the doorway. "Does this mean we can eat in fancy restaurants sometimes?" "Leo!" Sophia looked mortified, but Ryan just laughed. "Tell you what, buddy, when your mom starts her new job, we'll celebrate. Any restaurant you want. Even the place with the giant burgers? Even there. Deal." Leo ran over and threw his arms around Ryan's waist. Ryan froze for a second, surprised, then slowly put his arms around the boy's shoulders. "Thank you for helping my mom," Leo said, his voice muffled against Ryan's shirt. "You're the best." Ryan looked over Leo's head at Sophia, who was crying again, but these were good tears, happy tears. "You're welcome, kiddo," Ryan said softly. "Any time." Sophia's first day at Cole Enterprises was a disaster, not because she couldn't do the work. She picked up the systems faster than Ryan expected, but because she was terrified of making a mistake. She arrived 30 minutes early, dressed in the nicest clothes she owned, a simple black skirt and white blouse that she'd had for years. She stood outside the building, looking up at the gleaming glass tower, taking deep breaths. "You can do this," she whispered to herself. "It's just a job. You've handled worse." Inside, the lobby was intimidating, all marble and chrome, with well-dressed people striding purposefully to elevators. Sophia felt immediately out of place. Her clothes were clean but old. Her shoes were practical but worn. She didn't have a designer bag or perfect hair or the confidence that everyone else seemed to carry naturally. Ryan met her at the elevator bank. He looked different in his work environment, more formal, more commanding, but when he saw her, his expression softened. "Ready?" "No, but I'm here." He smiled. "That's all that matters. Come on, I'll show you around." The 15th floor was busy even at 8:30 a.m. People moved between cubicles and offices, carrying coffee and folders, talking on phones. They looked competent and busy and like they belonged. Sophia felt like an imposter. Ryan's office was at the end of the hall, large and bright, with windows overlooking the city. Her desk was right outside, a organized workspace with a new computer, phone, and a stack of training materials. Catherine left detailed notes on everything, Ryan explained. "Daily routines, important contacts, how I like my schedule organized. Take today to read through it all. No pressure." "Okay." Sophia sat down at the desk, running her hands over the smooth surface. It was nicer than any furniture in her apartment. "I have meetings all morning, but I'll check in at lunch. If you need anything, just call me." Ryan paused. "And Sophia, breathe. You've got this." The morning was overwhelming. There was so much to learn. Computer systems, phone protocols, file organization. Catherine's notes were thorough but dense. Sophia read the same paragraphs 3 times, trying to absorb everything. Other employees stopped by to introduce themselves. They were polite but clearly curious about her, the new assistant who'd come from nowhere. Sophia could see them taking in her clothes, her nervous demeanor, trying to figure out where she fit in the hierarchy. "You must be Sophia." A woman in an expensive suit extended her hand. "I'm Jennifer from HR. Welcome to the team." "Thank you." Sophia shook her hand, very aware of how rough her own hands felt. "Where did you work before this?" "Holden Manufacturing, on the production line." Jennifer's eyebrows rose. "Oh, that's different. Well, if you need anything, my office is on 12. She left, and Sophia heard her whispering to someone down the hall. Heat crept up her neck. She knew what they were thinking, that she didn't belong here, that Ryan had hired her out of pity, that she'd never be able to handle the job. Maybe they were right. By lunch, Sophia had a pounding headache and felt like crying. She'd made 3 mistakes already. forwarded an email to the wrong person, messed up a calendar entry, and couldn't figure out how to transfer a phone call. Small mistakes, easily fixed, but they felt enormous. Ryan appeared at her desk. Ready for lunch? I can eat here. I have so much to learn. You need a break. He grabbed his coat. Come on. They went to a quiet restaurant nearby. Sophia barely tasted her food, too anxious about all the work waiting for her. How's it going? Ryan asked. Honestly, I'm drowning. Sophia set down her fork. Everyone here is so smart and confident, and I don't even know how to work the copy machine. What was I thinking? Accepting this job. You were thinking you deserved a chance to do something better. And you were right. But I'm so far behind. Sophia. Ryan's voice was gentle but firm. It's your first day. No one expects you to know everything. Jennifer from HR thinks you hired me out of pity. Jennifer from HR can mind her own business. Ryan took a sip of water. Look, I'm not going to lie. This job has a learning curve, but I hired you because I believe you can do it. More importantly, you need to believe you can do it. What if I can't? Then we'll figure it out together, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. He smiled. You know what I noticed this morning? You took detailed notes on everything. You asked smart questions. You didn't pretend to understand something when you didn't. Those are exactly the qualities I need in an assistant. Sophia felt some of the tension ease from her shoulders. Really? Really? Give it 2 weeks. If you still hate it, we'll talk about other options. But I think you're going to surprise yourself. The afternoon was better. Sophia stopped trying to memorize everything at once and just focused on one task at a time. When she made mistakes, she fixed them and moved on. When she didn't understand something, she asked. At 5 p.m., Ryan appeared at her desk. Go home, be with Leo. But there's still so much. There will always be more work. That's the nature of jobs. Ryan was already packing up his own briefcase. Part of being good at this job is knowing when to stop. Your son needs you more than these files do. Sophia saved her work and shut down her computer. As she gathered her things, she realized something. She'd made it through the first day. She was exhausted and overwhelmed, but she'd survived. Ryan, she called as he headed toward the elevator. He turned back. Yeah, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for taking the chance. On the bus ride home, Sophia called Leo's after-school program to let them know she was on her way. Then she leaned her head against the window and allowed herself a small smile. She'd done it. 1 day, down. 3 weeks in, Sophia hit her stride. She arrived at 7:30 now. Not because she had to, but because she liked the quiet time before the office got busy. She'd learned the systems, memorized Ryan's preferences, and figured out which coffee order went with which kind of meeting. More importantly, she'd stopped apologizing for every small mistake. Ryan noticed the change. She moved with more confidence now, handled problems without panicking, even pushed back when she thought he was overcommitting his schedule. You have 4 meetings tomorrow that will each run over their scheduled time, she told him one afternoon, standing in his office doorway with her tablet. Something has to move. They're all important. They're all important. But you're not a machine. You need time to eat and think between meetings. She pulled up his calendar. I'm moving the 3 p.m. with marketing to Thursday and blocking an hour for lunch. Non-negotiable. Ryan stared at her, then laughed. When did you get so bossy? When I realized my job is to manage you, not enable your workaholic tendencies. She smiled sweetly. Catherine warned me about this in her notes. You'll work yourself to death if someone doesn't stop you. Fine. Move the meeting. Ryan shook his head, but he was smiling. You're getting too good at this job. Pretty soon you'll be running the company. Please, I can barely keep up with your schedule. I don't want anyone else's problems. But the truth was, she was enjoying the work. It was challenging in a completely different way than the factory had been. Instead of physical exhaustion, she came home mentally tired but satisfied. She was learning, growing, using parts of her brain that had been dormant for years. And Leo noticed the difference. Mom's happier now, he told Ryan one afternoon. Ryan had started stopping by Sophia's apartment regularly, sometimes for dinner, sometimes just to check in. It had become natural, comfortable. Yeah, how can you tell? She sings in the morning now. She didn't used to do that. Leo was working on homework at the kitchen table while Sophia made dinner. And she doesn't look scared all the time. Ryan felt that familiar twist in his chest. She was scared before. Yeah, like worried scared about money and bills and stuff. Leo looked up from his math worksheet, but now she just looks tired happy instead of tired scared. Tired happy is better? Way better. Leo went back to his homework. Are you staying for dinner? If your mom doesn't mind. She never minds. She makes extra food on purpose now. Ryan glanced toward the kitchen where Sophia was humming while she cooked. Leo was right. She did seem lighter. The tension that had always lived in her shoulders had eased. She laughed more easily, didn't flinch when unexpected bills came in the mail. Ryan, can you help me with this? Leo pushed his worksheet across the table. I don't get fractions. Ryan sat down and looked at the problem. Okay, so imagine you have a pizza. They worked through the homework together while Sophia cooked. It was domestic and ordinary, and somehow one of the best evenings Ryan had experienced in years. No business dinners, no networking events, no trying to impress anyone, just dinner with people he cared about. How was work? Sophia asked over dinner. Chicken and rice and vegetables that somehow tasted better than anything at the expensive restaurants Ryan usually ate at. Productive. The new hiring is starting to show results. Employee satisfaction scores are up across all 3 facilities. He paused. We had someone from the labor board come by Holden. Apparently one of the former supervisors filed a complaint saying I was retaliating against him. The one who got fired? Henderson, yeah. But the board investigator reviewed everything and cleared us. Turns out they'd had complaints about his management style before. Ryan took another bite. The investigator actually complimented our new policies, said more companies should follow our model. Sophia smiled. That's wonderful. It's expensive, Ryan admitted, but it's right. And honestly, I think we'll be more profitable long term. People work better when they're not exhausted. Imagine that. They grinned at each other across the table, sharing the inside joke. Leo looked between them, not understanding, but happy they were happy. After dinner, Ryan helped with dishes while Leo took his bath. It was comfortable, working in the small kitchen together. Their hands occasionally brushed, reaching for the same plate, and they'd laugh and apologize, even though neither of them really minded. Can I ask you something? Sophia said, handing him a dripping plate to dry. Sure. Why don't you date? I mean, you're successful, you're... She paused, blushing slightly. Attractive. You must have women interested in you. Ryan was quiet for a moment, focusing on drying the plate. I tried dating for years, but it never worked out. Why not? Because I was never really present. My mind was always on work, on the next deal, the next acquisition, and the women I dated, they were interested in the money and the status, not... He trailed off. Not you. Not me. He set down the plate. After a while, I just stopped trying. Seemed more honest to be alone than to pretend I was capable of giving someone the attention they deserved. Sophia turned off the water and faced him. You're capable of it now. Look at how you are with Leo. With me. You're present and attentive and kind. That's different. How? Because I'm not trying to impress you. I can just be myself. Ryan leaned against the counter. With you and Leo, there's no pretense, no performance. It's just real. Real is good. Real is better than I ever expected. He smiled. Honestly, I'm happier now than I've been in my entire adult life. This, dinners, homework help, normal conversations, it's everything I didn't know I was missing. Sophia's eyes were soft. You know you're part of our family now, right? Not just my boss or Leo's friend. Family. Yeah. Ryan's voice was rough. Yeah. She reached out and squeezed his hand. The best kind of family. The one we choose. Leo appeared in the doorway in his pajamas, hair still damp from the bath. Ryan, will you read me a story? Of course, buddy. They moved to Leo's small room, and Ryan sat on the edge of the bed while Leo picked out a book. Sophia stood in the doorway, watching them with an expression that made Ryan's chest tight. This was what mattered, not board meetings or profit margins or business success. This, being part of something real, being needed, being loved not for what you could provide, but for who you were. He read Leo 2 chapters, and by the end, the boy was nearly asleep. Ryan tucked the blanket around him carefully. Night, Uncle Ryan, Leo mumbled. Ryan froze. It was the first time Leo had called him that. He looked at Sophia, who was smiling with tears in her eyes. Night, Leo, he whispered back. Sweet dreams. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon in May. Sophia was at her desk, organizing Ryan's schedule for the following week, when her phone rang. The school. Her heart immediately started racing. Schools only called when something was wrong. Ms. Mitchell, this is Principal Davis from Riverside Elementary. Leo's fine, but there's been an incident. What kind of incident? A fight. Leo and another student. Can you come in to discuss it? Sophia's mind reeled. Leo had never been in a fight in his life. He was gentle, shy even. I'll be right there. She grabbed her purse and headed for Ryan's office. He was on a conference call, but she knocked anyway. He took one look at her face and told the people on the line he'd call them back. What's wrong? The school called. Leo got in a fight. I need to go. I'm coming with you. Ryan, you have meetings. Nothing more important than this. He was already grabbing his coat. Let's go. They made it to the school in 15 minutes. Principal Davis met them in the front office, a stern woman in her 50s with kind eyes that had seen everything. Thank you for coming so quickly. Please have a seat. They sat in the small office while the principal pulled up files on her computer. Leo's normally an excellent student, well-behaved, respectful, which is why this incident is so concerning. What happened? Sophia asked, her voice tight. During recess, another student, Tommy Henderson, made some comments about Leo's home situation, specifically about Leo's father not being in the picture. Principal Davis looked uncomfortable. Tommy's exact words were that Leo's dad probably left because no one would want a family like his. Sophia felt like she'd been punched. Ryan's jaw clenched so hard she could hear his teeth grinding. What did Leo do? Ryan asked, his voice dangerously quiet. He pushed Tommy. Tommy pushed back. Then Leo punched him. Principal Davis pulled up photos on her computer. Tommy has a black eye. Leo has a split lip. Sophia covered her mouth with her hand. Oh my God. Where is he? Ryan asked. In the nurse's office, but I need to discuss consequences first. Our policy is zero tolerance for violence. Violence. Ryan's voice cut like a blade. A kid insults Leo's family and Leo defends himself, and you're calling it violence? Mr. Cole, I understand your concern, but we have rules. Your rules let a child be bullied about his family situation. Ryan leaned forward. What did Tommy's parents have to say about his behavior? Principal Davis shifted uncomfortably. Tommy's father he's on the school board. He feels Leo overreacted. Of course he does. Ryan's laugh was bitter. Let me guess. Tommy's not being suspended? Both boys will receive detention. That's not equal punishment, and you know it. Ryan stood up. Tommy started this with targeted harassment. Leo defended himself. If you're going to punish them the same way, you're telling every kid in this school that bullies and victims are the same thing. Mr. Cole, I appreciate your position, but no buts. Either Tommy faces real consequences for his behavior, or I'll be at the next school board meeting explaining why the son of a board member gets special treatment. Principal Davis looked at Sophia. Ms. Mitchell, do you agree with this approach? Sophia had been silent, processing everything. Now she straightened in her chair. Yes, I do. My son isn't violent. If he hit another child, that child must have pushed him past his limit. And from what you've described, Tommy said something cruel and intentionally hurtful. Playground insults are common. Attacking a child's family isn't a playground insult. It's targeted harassment. Sophia's voice was steady now. Leo's father isn't in our lives. That's our reality. And for another child to weaponize that, to use it to hurt my son, that's not acceptable. Principal Davis was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she nodded. You're right, both of you. I'll speak with Tommy's parents again, and I'll recommend counseling for Tommy. He's been acting out more lately. And Leo? Ryan asked. No detention, but I'd like you to talk to him about better ways to handle conflict. We will, Sophia promised. They were taken to the nurse's office where Leo sat on a cot, holding an ice pack to his lip. When he saw them, his face crumpled. I'm sorry, he said immediately, tears starting. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to hit him, but he said, Sophia pulled him into her arms. I know, baby. I know what he said. He said Dad left because we weren't good enough, that nobody would want us. Leo's voice broke, and I got so mad, and I pushed him, and then he pushed me back, and then I hit him. I didn't even think about it. Hey! Ryan knelt down beside them, his hand on Leo's shoulder. Look at me. Leo looked up, his eyes red and swollen. What Tommy said was cruel and wrong. Your family is amazing. You and your mom, you're the best people I know. Ryan's voice was gentle, but hitting him wasn't the right choice. You understand that? Yes, sir. Good. Next time someone says something that hurts you, what should you do? Tell a teacher? Tell a teacher. Tell your mom. Tell me. Let the adults handle it. Ryan squeezed his shoulder. But I also want you to know something. Standing up for your family? That took courage. You just need to learn to do it with words instead of fists. Okay. Leo wiped his eyes. Are you mad at me? No, I'm not mad. Ryan pulled him into a hug. I'm proud of you for defending your mom. Just wish you'd chosen a different way to do it. They took Leo home, stopping for ice cream on the way, even though it was barely past lunch. Leo was quiet, still processing everything. When they got to the apartment, he went straight to his room. Sophia collapsed on the couch, exhausted. Ryan sat beside her. That Henderson kid, she said quietly. His father is Paul Henderson, the supervisor you fired. Ryan closed his eyes. Of course he is. This is because of me, because I took this job, because you fired his dad. Stop. Ryan took her hand. This is not your fault. Paul Henderson got himself fired by falsifying records and treating his employees like garbage. His son is unfortunately learning his values. That's not on you. But Leo's paying the price. Leo stood up for himself and his family. That's not a price. That's growth. Ryan squeezed her hand. And we'll make sure the school handles this properly. Tommy needs to learn that actions have consequences. Sophia leaned her head on his shoulder. When did my life get so complicated? When you met me, probably. She laughed, despite everything. Yeah, probably. They sat in silence for a while, just being present with each other. Then Leo appeared from his room, his expression serious. Can I ask you something? He said, looking at Ryan. Anything. Tommy said his dad said you stole his job and ruined his life. Leo climbed onto the couch between them. Is that true? Ryan chose his words carefully. Tommy's dad worked at the factory where your mom used to work. He was in charge of scheduling, and he was making people work too many hours. It was dangerous and wrong, so I let him go. So you did take his job. I took his job because he wasn't doing it right. His responsibility was to take care of the workers, and instead he was hurting them, including your mom. Ryan looked at Leo seriously. Sometimes doing the right thing means other people get angry, but that doesn't make it wrong. Leo thought about this. Mom always says standing up for what's right is hard. Your mom is very wise. So Tommy's mad because his dad's mad, but his dad's mad because you wouldn't let him be mean to people anymore? Basically, yes. Leo nodded slowly, working through the logic. Then I'm glad you fired him, even if his kid is mean to me now. Ryan pulled Leo close. You're a good kid, you know that? I hit someone. You made a mistake. Good people make mistakes sometimes. What matters is you learn from them. That night, after Ryan had left and Leo was in bed, Sophia sat alone in the quiet apartment. She thought about everything that had happened. The job, the fight, the complicated web of consequences that came from trying to do better. It would have been easier to stay at the factory, to keep her head down, to avoid making waves. But looking at Leo's sleeping face, seeing how much more confident and happy he'd become, she knew they'd made the right choice. Change was hard, but staying stuck was harder. I want to cook for Ryan, Leo announced one Saturday morning in June. Like a real fancy dinner. Sophia looked up from her coffee. Baby, you're 7. Almost 8. And you can help me. I want to say thank you for everything. Leo's face was determined. He's always helping us. I want to do something for him. So that's how they spent the afternoon preparing dinner. Leo insisting on making fancy spaghetti with garlic bread and a salad. Sophia helped, but Leo did most of the work himself, concentrating hard as he measured ingredients and stirred sauce. Ryan arrived at 6 with flowers and wine, same as always. But this time, Leo met him at the door wearing an apron that said, "Kiss the cook," and a serious expression. "Welcome to our restaurant," Leo said formally. "Dinner will be ready in 10 minutes. Please make yourself comfortable." Ryan bit back a smile. "Thank you. It smells delicious." The dinner was good. A little heavy on the garlic, the pasta slightly overcooked, but made with love. They ate at the small table, talking about their week. Ryan told them about a new contract his company had landed. Sophia shared office gossip. Leo talked about a science project he was excited about. It was ordinary and perfect. After dinner, they moved to the living room. Leo wanted to show Ryan a new drawing he'd made, a picture of 3 people standing in front of a big house with a dog. "That's you, me, and Mom," Leo explained, pointing to each figure. "And that's your house. And that's the dog you should get." "I should get a dog?" "Yeah, houses need dogs. And dogs need people." Leo looked up at him seriously. "You're alone too much." Ryan glanced at Sophia, who shrugged with a smile. "He's not wrong. You two are ganging up on me." "It's for your own good," Leo said wisely. "Mom says sometimes people don't know what they need, so their friends have to tell them." "And you're my friend?" "I'm your family." Leo said it simply, like it was obvious. Friends are people you like. Family is people you love and who love you back. Ryan's throat went tight. He looked at Sophia, who had tears in her eyes. "Yeah," he managed. "Yeah, we're family." Leo beamed and climbed onto the couch next to Ryan, settling against his side like it was the most natural thing in the world. Sophia sat on Ryan's other side, and they watched a movie together, some animated thing about talking animals that Leo loved. Halfway through, Leo fell asleep. Ryan and Sophia looked at each other over his head, both smiling. "He's right, you know," Sophia whispered, "about the dog, and about you being alone too much. I'm alone less now, because of you two. Still, you should have more than just us. You two are enough." Ryan looked down at Leo sleeping peacefully. "More than enough." They carried Leo to bed together, working in silent cooperation born from months of similar evenings. Then they returned to the living room, and Sophia poured them each more wine. "Can I tell you something?" she said, settling back on the couch. "Always. I was terrified of you when we first met, this powerful CEO who could destroy my life with a word. But now," she smiled, "now you're one of my best friends, one of the most important people in my life. The feeling's mutual." "I know. And I want you to know that you don't have to keep helping us out of some sense of obligation. We're doing okay now. I have a good job. We're stable. You don't owe us anything anymore." "Is that what you think? That I'm here out of obligation?" Ryan set down his wine. "Sophia, I'm here because I want to be. Because coming here, spending time with you and Leo, it's the best part of my week, my life." "Really? Really?" He leaned back, only back, looking at the ceiling. "I have a huge house, more money than I can spend, every material thing I could want, but none of it means anything compared to this, sitting on a worn couch in a small apartment, drinking cheap wine with someone who genuinely cares if I had a good day." Sophia's eyes glistened. "We do care. So much." "I know. That's why I keep coming back." He looked at her. "You've given me something I've been missing my whole life, a sense of belonging, of being part of something real. You've given us that too. Before you, it was just me and Leo against the world. Now we have you." She smiled. "Our very own guardian angel in an expensive suit." Ryan laughed. "I don't know about angel." "Close enough." She squeezed his hand. "Thank you, Ryan, for everything, for seeing us, for caring, for being part of our weird little family. Thank you for letting me in." They sat in comfortable silence, hands clasped, the movie still playing softly in the background. Outside, the city hummed with life, but inside this small apartment, everything was quiet and warm and exactly right. "I should probably go," Ryan said eventually, though he didn't move. "Or you could stay, watch another movie. The couch pulls out into a bed. It's not fancy, but it's comfortable enough." "You sure?" "I'm sure." Sophia smiled. "Besides, if you leave now, you'll miss Leo's reaction in the morning when he finds you still here. He'll be thrilled." So Ryan stayed. They talked for another hour about nothing and everything. Childhood memories, dreams for the future, fears and hopes. The kind of conversation you can only have with someone who truly knows you. When they finally set up the pull-out couch, Sophia brought Ryan a pillow and blanket. "Thanks for staying. Thanks for having me." She hesitated in the doorway to her room. "Ryan, that thing Leo said about family, people you love who love you back?" "Yeah." He's right. That's what we are. She smiled. Sleep well. After she'd gone, Ryan lay in the darkness, listening to the sounds of the apartment settling, the distant hum of traffic. He thought about his mansion on the hill, so big and empty and cold despite all its luxury. This place, with its worn furniture and thin walls and cheap wine, felt more like home than anywhere he'd ever lived. Christmas came with snow again. Ryan had invited them to spend the holiday at his house. It's practically tradition now, he'd said. We started this thing in the snow. Might as well keep celebrating there. The mansion was transformed. Over the past months, Leo and Sophia had left their mark. Photos on the mantle, Leo's drawings on the fridge, a reading corner with comfortable chairs and good light. It looked lived in, loved. They spent Christmas Eve decorating the tree together. Ryan had bought way too many ornaments, and Leo delighted in hanging each one, telling stories about what they represented. This one's a book because Mom loves reading. This one's a star because I want to be an astronaut. This one's a briefcase because Ryan works too much. Leo grinned at that last one. Hey, Ryan protested. I don't work too much anymore. You work medium much now. That's better. After the tree was done, they made cookies that turned out lopsided and watched old movies until Leo fell asleep under the tree, waiting for Santa. Sophia and Ryan sat on either side of him, the colored lights casting soft shadows. This is nice, Sophia said quietly. It really is. A year ago, I never could have imagined this. Any of it. She looked around the room. I was so scared all the time. About money, about keeping Leo safe, about whether we'd make it. And now I'm still scared sometimes, but it's different. It's not survival fear anymore. It's just normal life fear, the kind everyone has. She smiled. Having you in our lives made all the difference. Ryan was quiet for a moment. Then he reached under the tree and pulled out a small box. I have something for you. Both of you, actually. Inside was a key on a silver chain. Sophia looked at it, confused. It's a key to this house, Ryan explained. I had it made months ago, but kept chickening out about giving it to you. Ryan, let me finish. He took a breath. I've been thinking about what Leo said, about family being people you love who love you back. And I realized something. I don't need a wife or kids of my own to have a family. I already have one. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. You and Leo, you're my family. The one I chose, the one that chose me back. Ryan's voice was steady but emotional. And I want you to know that this house isn't just mine anymore. It's ours, all three of us. You don't have to live here if you don't want to. Your apartment is your home. But this place, it's your home too, whenever you need it, whenever you want it. Why are you doing this? Because I love you. Ryan said it simply, clearly, not romantically. We've figured out that's not what this is, but deeply, truly, the way you love the people who matter most. You're my people, my family, and I want you to know you always have a place here. Sophia was fully crying now. We love you too, so much. I know. Ryan squeezed her hand. So this is my promise. To both of you, I'll always be here. I'll always show up. I'll always be part of your lives for as long as you'll have me. Forever then. Forever works for me. Leo stirred in his sleep, mumbling something about Santa. They both smiled, wiping their eyes. We should probably put him to bed, Sophia whispered. Together they carried Leo upstairs to the room that had slowly become his, filled with his books and toys and drawings. They tucked him in, and Ryan stood in the doorway watching Sophia smooth Leo's hair back from his forehead. He's lucky to have you, Ryan said quietly. We're lucky to have you. They stood there for a moment, two people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way and built something beautiful from it. Not romance, but something just as powerful, a genuine partnership built on respect, trust, and unconditional care. Downstairs, they sat by the fireplace with wine, watching the flames dance. Can I ask you something? Sophia said. Do you ever regret it? Not having a traditional family? Wife, kids, the whole package? Ryan considered the question. Sometimes I wonder what it would have been like, but I don't regret this. What we have is real and honest and exactly what I need. He smiled. Besides, I do have a kid, just not one I made. Leo thinks of you as his dad, you know. He won't say it because he doesn't want to make things weird, but that's how he sees you. Ryan's eyes stung. Yeah? You show up for his school stuff, help with homework, teach him things, make him feel safe. That's what dads do." She paused. "The man who contributed DNA to Leo's existence. He's never been a father. But you're exactly what Leo needs." "I'm not trying to replace." "You're not replacing anyone. You're filling an empty space that was always there." Sophia smiled. "And doing it beautifully." They sat in silence, watching the fire burn down to embers. Outside, snow was starting to fall again, soft and gentle. "Sophia." "Yeah." "Thank you for walking into my life, for trusting me, for letting me be part of this. Thank you for catching us when we fell." The grandfather clock in the hall chimed midnight. Christmas Day. "Merry Christmas," Ryan said. "Merry Christmas to you too." They clinked their glasses and drank. Two people who'd started as strangers and become something far more important than friends. Family. The kind that transcends blood and tradition and expectation. The kind built on choice and commitment and love. In the morning, Leo woke them both at dawn, practically vibrating with excitement about presents. They stumbled downstairs in pajamas and bathrobes, laughing and yawning. The presents were good, practical things mixed with thoughtful things, but the best gift was the one Leo gave Ryan, a framed photo of the three of them from Thanksgiving, laughing at something long forgotten. On the frame, Leo had written in careful letters, "My family." Ryan held it for a long time, not trusting himself to speak. When he finally looked up, both Sophia and Leo were watching him with matching expressions of love and acceptance. "Best present ever," he managed. "Good," Leo said, satisfied, "because you're stuck with us now. I can't think of anywhere I'd rather be stuck." And he meant it. Every word. Because somewhere between snowstorms and factory floors, between late-night homework and small kitchen dinners, the three of them had built something none of them expected. A home, not defined by walls or blood, but by the quiet certainty that no one in this little family would ever face the world alone again. And as laughter filled the mansion that Christmas morning, Ryan understood the truth at last. This wasn't the ending of their story. It was the beginning of the life they were finally brave enough to choose.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.